Good morning. So here's a little saying. It goes, when your output exceeds your input, your shortfall will be your downfall. It's a little kind of soundbite, but so when your output exceeds your input, your shortfall will be your downfall. That these things we hear in many different ways. That like there has to be something coming in, that we have to replenish the resources in our heart and mind, and that so through communion with Christ and what ways they are. Now these can, of course, I'd say the words, but they become formulated, and we go, I'll read the Bible, have prayer time, have quiet time, and even these things are sometimes not even replenishing. But I just want to talk about this whole principle of the roots and the fruits, like the idea of having a good foundation in your life, the idea of having like good root system that you're constantly drawing on, that you're constantly being able to feed from. And because there are different ways that you kind of have an effect on people or influence, and one of them is just your natural abilities and your gifts, and even spiritual gifts. They have an impact, they have an impression on people. They are different. But when you look at the gifts of the Holy Spirit, there's 20 listed in those various places, 1 Corinthians 12 and Romans 12 and other places, 20 gifts listed, but none of them are to do with character. None of them assume character, none of them require character. They are gifts. And I know it seems unusual to give like a wonderful gift to somebody who may not have the character to handle it, but that's how life works. Adolf Hitler was given the most tremendous gift of speech and eloquence. He used it in the most horrific way imaginable. And then, throughout the church, you can look at many of the false teachers, or many of these, people who are really causing damage in the church through some wrong teachings and practices. They are tremendously gifted. Their charisma, their ability to speak and all such things. But it doesn't assume character. And this is really what can be like a problem. They say when you have people in, a corporation or in an office, there's different types of characters, but they highlighted a few, but one of them was the hero type. This is the person who has the ability to do everything. They just have massive kind of energy, and they have massive amounts of like abilities and skills, and they really just they call them the hero type. They just handle everything. And they say it's not always in the overall best interest of the company, that sometimes because of it, others don't develop, others don't, get the room. He says there's another one called the star. Like there's just a guy or lady who's just a star performer, like say in a sales organization or something. And this one is the star salesperson. They are just hitting like double targets, triple targets all the time. And, they are just bringing in the numbers. It's amazing. But the problem is they have an attitude. And not always, but what happens in these cases is they have an attitude, and that when they look at the figures, they go, man, this guy's numbers are amazing. But what happens is they say that sometimes they are a disruptor, and the kind of star performances, they allow for the disruption. But what they've often done is they said that overall, when you measure it all, the cost of their disruption to the other workers, and maybe kind of affecting their numbers and affecting things, whatever way, they say sometimes the star performer is overall not in the best interests of the team. So this happens, of course, in the life of the church. There are stars, there are heroes, and that is okay. It's okay. We thank God. God gives gifts. We want gifted people. But as we said, when God says it is required in a steward that a man is found faithful, these are the first things. There has to be the kind of basic root system of it. Like I said, that little phrase soundbite, when your output exceeds your input, your shortfall will be your downfall. But the idea is that if somebody is very gifted and they are put into a position of influence, or given certain titles or other such things, yes, they're very gifted and they have great abilities, but it does not assume character. It does not assume character at all. All the gifts are without character. And yet if you go the opposite, when it's saying choosing officers or leaders for the church, there's 20 characteristics there also. If you go to 1 Timothy chapter 3 and Titus 1, verse 5 to 9, I think it is, then they give a list of 20 characteristics, and all of them are to do with character or integrity, or the person's walk with God and his overall life, with his family, with his work life, as witness to people outside, how he handles his emotions, how he deals with interpersonal relationships, how he handles conflict, all these things. And is he temperate, moderate? Is he a drinker? Is he a fighter? Is he a contentious type of person? And all those are to do with character. And the only one to do with gifting is that he has an ability to teach. Nothing else. He may be just quite a simple man, and actually, generally speaking, it is quite all right that he is, and normally that is the case. And but like, just if somebody is very gifted and hasn't developed these 20 characteristics or 19 characteristics, because one of them is the gift, if he hasn't developed those, that like his giftedness will be there, and things can happen, and there can be shocks, and you elevate a person like that, and it's just not a healthy thing. Or to elevate yourself like that, because you have the ability to press yourself forward by your personality, by your charisma, by your giftedness, by your intelligence, by your ability to speak and talk and get the thing moving and bouncing. And that's fine. Like, that can be used to the glory of God if it is submitted and if it is under. But there has to be a root system. And Christian character is the fruit of the Spirit. And in this kind of area of humility and meekness and lowliness and gentleness, and in these kind of areas in a person's life, there is a manifestation or an anointing. And this is different than giftedness. This is not the same as a kind of just a natural giftedness. Or I know I'm kind of moving on a little bit too more, but just let us finish with that. Like, there has to be a foundation to put the building on. There has to be root structure in order for the fruit to really come forth. There has to be an inner life to support the outer life. And maybe we've had a good inner life before, but we've let it slip, because the very fact that your inner life and root system produces various fruit, now you have to maintain that fruitfulness and maintain that, which takes away from your time that you would give to your personal life with God. So you have to kind of go back and recheck those things again. So let's finish with our little catchphrase. If your output exceeds your input, then your shortfall will be your downfall. Okay?